I don't know about you guys, but I'm a never say never kind of guy. I hold firm to the belief that while we have a fairly good idea of how the Total War Warhammer trilogy will take shape moving into Game 3, there's still a hell of a lot we don't know, and there are major surprises in store for us over the next several years. As the undead pirates of the Vampire Coast have already proven, all bets are off. There's a lot that can and will be done outside the proverbial box, outside our standard expectations for the series. But even still, there are limits to the playable races we'll see when the series is all said and done. Factions like Araby, like the Dogs of War, like Albion, and the Amazons, and the rest of the Southern Realms are all kind of floating in limbo right now, waiting desperately for their name to be called. And for many, sadly, that call will never come. In any official capacity, anyway. But thankfully, we have an amazing modding community. Legends like Kataf and his Southern Realms, Sleepy and Decomposed with their Chaos Dwarfs, and more recently, the modding team for OVN Lost Factions. These guys are the real champions, the heroes that keep our embers of hope alive, and give us a tasty glimpse of what the future might hold in store. Legendary warriors like the Birdmen of Katraza, like Asarniel the Dragon Lord, Volan's Venators, and Anaconda's Amazons, have been brought to life in ways that very few of us would have thought possible only a few years ago. But the Dogs of War are really just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the forgotten races of the Warhammer world, so while we might never get a true Araby DLC, that doesn't mean you can't still play as Araby. Behold the wonders of our glorious modding community. OVN Lost Factions have come in and they have you covered. Desert Realms made manifest, replete with real war elephants, outdated Jezzails, cataphracts, Jinn, flying carpets, and the golden guards of the Sultan himself. The Caliphate of Araby and the Flaming Scimitar, straight from Dreadfleet and the dark history of its crusades, are the playable factions here, led by the Dark Sultan Jafar and Golden Magus respectively, both of which have more than dabbled in the ruinous powers and in fact owe their black souls to chaos itself. What can you expect to see when playing as these desert kingdoms? Well, riches beyond your wildest imagining, a flourishing economy built on the backs of slaves, concubines, and the spice trade, and a strict division between obscene luxury and abject poverty. But this is Total War, and as Machiavelli once said, the sinews of war are not gold, but good soldiers, and you'll need them because the errantry wars are already on your doorstep, as the Knights of Origo, Baron Thegan, and the rest of the Bretonnian Crusaders attempt to take your port settlements and choke you off from the life-giving sea. And that is to speak nothing of the undead threats that lie to your east and west as the Tomb Kings rise up from the sands to take back what is rightfully theirs. Powerful cavalry, lightly armored but damaging infantry in the form of tribesmen, dervishers, and royal guard, the overwhelming might and potentially chaos-aligned Jinn of the Warp, and the stampeding charge of masked war elephants await you, should you seek to lead the hordes of Arabia. But the people of the Southlands aren't the only ones who receive some McLovin in OVN Lost Factions. Far to the north, on a cold, rain-drenched island wreathed in mist and shadow, march the Truthsayers of Albion, a land drowned in bogs, marshes, and haunted fens, ringed by the mysterious Ohm Stones that not only contain the threat of chaos that threatened to consume their people millennia ago, but formed a veil of fog that protected them from further invasion. The druids that live here whisper to both beast and man alike, commanding vast legions of barbarians bathed in woad, half-giants marked with the honor of their tribes, and fen beasts brought to horrific unlife by the Ohm shards that dot the island. Theirs is an aggressive faction that plays much like the Iceni tribe from Rome 2, with rudimentary chariots, noble cavalry, fierce berserker-style infantry, and of course, the magical monsters from this forgotten realm. Giants, and a lot of them. Rotted wooden constructs, long dormant spirits brought back with a vengeance, and unique lures of magic. Low armor, but high physical resistance and charge bonus characterizes them on the battlefield, and in time, the enemies of Albion will learn that they may take our lands, but they will never take our freedom. Up next are the servants of Manslib, or as it's known to the Fimir peoples, Fimmel's Eye. We know them well for their inclusion in the Norskin roster, but they are very much their own society in Warhammer lore, governed by their own laws and crude parody of civilization. These are Cyclopean amphibians straight out of your worst Barney nightmare. A people that, like the Truthsayers of Albion, favor the secrecy of mist and shadow to keep their dwellings safe from prying eyes. They were once the favored champions of the dark gods, long before the rise of man, but were cast aside and forgotten when the more malleable race of humanity came to the fore. But still, they toil for the scraps left in the wake of the ruinous powers, gathering in large numbers under the Mirag and Dirac sorcerers who might lead them to glory once more. This is an army dedicated solely to monstrous combat, to magical attacks, to armor sundering, highly resistant to missile fire as their woven mists block the vision of would-be attackers, and once in melee, few can withstand the sheer mass and brute force they can unleash. This army of Fimir is ready to throw off the shackles of chaos and drown the world in a tide of miststalkers, but first, they must contend with those still enthralled by the dark gods themselves. Norska, Albion, and the warriors of the north shall fall first, and soon after, the world. Continuing the trend of monstrous infantry, howl the troll tribes of chieftain Ugma, a fierce river troll who found his intellect grow exponentially when he came in contact with a rather unique vein of warpstone in the World's Edge Mountains. He is no Throg, king of trolls, but his intelligence and tactics are impressive, considering the dumbassery that is prevalent amongst his brutish race. And deep in the Badlands, he has run afoul of the orcs, dwarfs, and Skaven after some ill-advised military campaigns and obscene feasts that may or may not have landed him in the Book of Grudges. Now, the river trolls, stone trolls, ice trolls, bile trolls, and all manner of chaos warp monstrosities come to join his horde, pushing out from Granti Migdal towards Karak Asgal, the city of jewels, where riches and feast aplenty await. In his vanguard, hunt the bloody Avalanche, veteran ice trolls perpetually stained red from the meat of their victims. It doesn't get much more straightforward than these simpletons. March out, conquer, and feed on all who oppose you. And finally, from the blasted wastes far to the east, come the hordes of Hashut, father of darkness, the Dawi Zar, the Chaos Dwarfs of Zar Nagrund. Long ago forsaken by their cousins in the west, they were forced to eke out a bleak and horrific existence in a hellscape quite unlike anything in the Warhammer world, until their father lifted them from the depths of despair and instilled a cruelty, a malice, and a will to dominate all life and each and every soul. They warped and mutated into hellish parodies of the people they once were, growing fangs and horns, and an innate drive to enslave. And enslave they did, forging vast cities and towering black citadels in the fires of industry, on the backs of greenskins, ogres, and those humans unfortunate enough to fall into their dark clutches. They are masters of artifice, of demon binding, of industry, of the forge, and the weapons of war they sell to the forces of chaos, and employ in their own legions. Constructs of living forge metal and dripping magma, artillery locomotives with the power to shake the earth itself, lava-spewing rifles and great bulls made of fire and molten rock make up this Babylonian legion of Asgore, and the armies of hobgoblin slaves that spew forth from the pits of Zar Nagrund bolster their numbers tenfold. But this is a race at war with itself, as Drazduat the Ashen, Zatan the Black, and the Demon Binders of the capital all vie for uncontested control of the Darklands. And unlike the other races in this video, their inclusion in Total War Warhammer 3 is all but assured, as one of the few remaining major factions in this trilogy with a relatively recent army book and a simple understanding of Warhammer geography. Their homeland in the Darklands will make up the majority of Warhammer 3's campaign map, so whether they march in as DLC or as a starting race on day one, march in they will. We will be seeing the Chaos Dwarfs of Zar Nagrund sooner rather than later. I will be very curious to see what you guys think in terms of whether they make it in as a DLC faction or as a starting race, but they will be in Game 3, you can mark my words on that. So I don't know about you guys, but I have consistently been shocked and amazed by the quality of content that has hit the mod workshop. Our modding community is one of the best for any game I've ever played, and they have continued to push out that content and give us amazing stuff to play. From Mixu to Kataf to Venris, Decompose, and the host of heroes that are continuing to pour their heart and soul into this game, I think I speak for the vast majority of us when I say thank you. You guys are awesome, and you make gaming an even more enjoyable experience. Now, that isn't to say there isn't plenty of jank still to be had. Some of the models and implementations in these mods are jerry-rigged in ways that require some serious suspension of disbelief, but all things considered, what has been accomplished and will continue to be accomplished in the following months and years, I fully expect to continue to blow our socks off. The future of Total War Warhammer is in great hands both from the devs over in Horsham, England, and from the passionate fanatics that call this game home. Thank you guys again. Thank you so much. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you have not checked out OVN Lost Factions before, please do so. That, Southern Realms, Mixed Use Lord mods, and the host of other mods that I continue to post videos about are definitely worth your time. Check them out. I'll see you all in the next video. Indy Pride, signing out for now. Have a good one, guys.